यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी जय
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, reading from Srila Prabhupada Bhagavad Gita, volume 6, United to Worlds, chapter is entitled, I have done my part. On the day of Swarup Damodar's arrival in Vrindavan, the first rains also arrived, indicating the end of summer and the start of the monsoon. Heavy rains beat down while Prabhupada and Swarup Damodar continued talking. Prabhupada said that the Vedic evolutionary theory had been presented in the Padma Purana thousands of years before Darwin. If we can get some big scientists on our side, said Swarup Damodar, at least a few, that will be enough. That I am asking, said Prabhupada. Tamal Krishna figured that Srila Prabhupada would be tired after 2 hours of talking, so he interrupted. Would you like a kirtan party now, Srila Prabhupada? But Prabhupada corrected him. This is kirtan now going on. People have to understand what is kirtan. Any topics on Krishna, that is kirtan. Shukadeva Goswami became perfect by kirtan. But what kind of kirtan did he do? He was speaking the Bhagavatam, answered Tamal Krishna. Yes, said Prabhupada. You are simply thinking drums and carabals is kirtan, but anything we do here is kirtan. There is no material connection here. We are not talking how to increase our business and enjoy women and wine. That is not our aim. Ka Uttama Shloka Gunanu Vada. We are trying to establish Krishna. That is kirtan. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Do you know this? Taking this remark as his cue, Swarup Damodar went on to speak about scientists he had met who were interested in the proposed Origin of Life conference. I'm thinking of the title of our conference, he said, as a Bhaktivedanta Vijnana conference in Vrindavan. No, said Prabhupada. They will take it otherwise, thinking that Bhaktivedanta is not a Jnani. They will take it lightly because Bhaktivedanta Swami is not a scientist. One of the devotees said that Bhaktivedanta actually indicated a high science, and Srila Prabhupada agreed. But to understand Bhakti, he said, was very difficult for the ordinary man. Why not? Life comes from life, asked Prabhupada. And Swarup Damodar immediately agreed. Make something extraordinary, said Prabhupada. We are not just some magicians like the other yogis. There is money, intelligence, and I can give you inspiration. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki.
जय
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
From Raghunatha, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 15, Text 9 and 10. So I do 9 myself and everyone to do together. Gayam Dripaka Pratiyati Karmavir Yagya Vimani Bahubidharma Gupta Samagata Shri Sadaspati Satam Satsev Punyo Bhagavat Kalamrite. Translation. The great king Gaya, used to perform all kinds of Vedic rituals. He was highly intelligent and expert in studying all Vedic literatures. He maintained the religious principles and possessed all kinds of opulence. He was a leader among gentlemen and servant of the devotees. He was totally qualified plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of God. Therefore, who could equal him in the performance of gigantic ritualistic ceremonies? That's this verse. Yam abhyasyanchan parayamudasati.
Abhisinchan Parayamudasati.
Yam abhyasyanchan parayamudasati.
Yam Abhisinchan Parayamudasati.
Satya Shishodaksha Kanya Saridvi.
Satya Shishodaksha Kanya Saridvi.
Satya Shishodaksha Kanya Saridvi.
Satya Shishodaksha Kanya Saridvi.
Yasya Prajanam Duduhe Darashisho.
Yashya Prajanam Duduhe Darasisho.
Yasya Prajanam Duduhe Darashisho.
Yasya Prajanam Duduhe Darasisho.
Darashisho Guna Vatsa Sutodha.
Nirashisho Gunavatsa Snutodha.
Nirashisho Guna Vatsa Sutodha.
Nirashisho Gunavatsa Snutodha.
Yam Abhyashinchan Parayamudasati.
Yam Abhyasinchan Parayamudasati.
Satya Shishodaksha Kanya Saridhi.
Satya Shishodaksha Kanya Saridhi.
Yasya Prajanam Duduhe Darashisho.
Yasya Prajanam Duduhe Darashisho.
Darashisho Gunavatsa Sutodha.
Nirashisho Gunavatsa Snutodha. Yam Abhyasinchan Parayamudasati.
Yam Abhyashinchan Parayamudasati.
Satya Shishodaksha Kanya Saridhi.
Satya Shishodaksha Kanya Saridhi.
Yasya Prajanam Duduhe Darashisho.
Yasya Prajanam Duduhe Darashisho.
Nirashisho Gunavatsa Snutodha.
Darashisho Gunavatsa Sutodha. Yam
Whom
Abhyashinchan
Abhyasinchan with
Paraya with great Muda satisfaction. Sati all chaste and devoted to their husbands.
all chaste and devoted to their husbands.
Satya True.
True.
Ashisha,
Ashisha,
whose blessings.
whose blessings.
Daksha Kanya,
Daksha Kanya,
the daughters of King Daksha.
the daughters of King Daksha.
Sariti,
Saridhi,
with sanctified water.
with sanctified water.
Yasya,
Yasya,
whose.
Prajanam,
Of the citizens.
of the citizens.
Duduhe,
Duduhe,
fulfilled.
Dara,
The planet Earth.
the planet Earth.
Ashisha,
Ashisha,
of all desires.
of all desires.
Nirashisha,
Nirashisha,
although personally having no desire.
although personally having no desire.
Guna Vatsa Snuta Uda,
Guna Vatsa Sunta Uda,
Earth becoming like a cow,
earth becoming like a cow,
whose udders float upon seeing Gaya's qualities,
whose others flowed upon seeing Gaya's qualities,
and ruling over the citizens.
in ruling over the citizens.
Translation of Prabhupada. Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki
Jai.
all the chaste and honest daughters of Maharaj Daksha, such as Shraddha, Maitri, and Daya, whose blessings were always effective, bathed Maharaj Gaya with sanctified water. Indeed, they were very satisfied with Maharaj Gaya. The planet Earth personified came as a cow, and as though she saw her calf, she delivered milk profusely when she saw all the good qualities of Maharaj Gaya. In other words, Maharaj Gaya was able to derive all benefits from the earth and thus satisfy the desires of his citizens. However, he personally had no desire. Purport. The earth over which Maharaj Gaya ruled is compared to a cow. The good qualities whereby he maintained and ruled the citizens are compared to the calf. A cow delivers milk in the presence of her calf. Similarly, the cow or earth fulfilled the desires of Maharaj Gaya, who was able to utilize all resources of the earth to benefit his citizens. This was possible because he was bathed in sanctified water by the honest daughters of Daksha. Unless a king or ruler is blessed by authorities, he cannot rule the citizens very satisfactorily. Through the good qualities of the ruler, the citizens become very happy and well qualified. Om Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamya Dadati Swamantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaparakam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Tansajivam Sarvitam Savaditam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishwakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Dugandate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tata Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Namani Hripriya Rajakalpa Visha Kripasi Dure Vacha Patitana Paviyo Vaishnaviyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham karoti vachanam Pangolagete Yekripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataram. The verse of spiritual master. Blind man can see the stars. Lame man can cross the mountains. And dumb man can speak like coffee. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances and collectors with the one spiritual master. Mahamishnu Krishna Krishna Kota Vishnu Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Krishna So the translation again. All the chaste and honest daughters of Maharaj Daksha, such as Shraddha, Maitri and Daya, whose blessings were always effective, bathed Maharaj Gaya with sanctified water. Indeed, they were very satisfied with Maharaj Gaya. The planet Earth personified came as a cow, and as though she saw her calf, she delivered milk profusely when she saw all the good qualities of Maharaj Gaya. In other words, Maharaj Gaya was able to derive all benefits from the earth and thus satisfy the desires of his citizens. However, he personally had no desire. Formerly, there was people and rulers and leaders of such a capacity that they could manage the entire planet. And there were some people who were called Rajarshis. Raja means king, and Rishi means saint, saintly kings. This is the standard of Vedic civilization, is to have a leader, and this is the desire of Krishna as well, to have a leader who is a saint. Then everything flourishes. Like there is this prayer in Christian tradition that on earth, like in heaven, so by the saintly ruling of a king, then this material world, which is a perverted reflection of spiritual world, where people become so selfish, so self-centered, and create so much bad karma, that there is so much misery, especially in the age of Kali. However, when the king and the leader is a saintly person, then by that saintliness, the spiritual world can descend and manifest, create such an atmosphere and such an environment that everything flourishes. And earth, as we read in the purport, is happy when there is this wonderful saintly qualities of a leader and the citizens and subjects and people become inspired by the leadership to follow, as we discussed about role models. It was Ashish and the devotees speaking about that we need role models in our life. That is the actual leader who's not, some person who is got some egocentric idea to tell everybody what to do. But it's actually a saintly person who doesn't see that position of some sort of control, but sees it as a service. And so that is the standard of Vedic civilization, that the leader is actually a servant or servant leader. So you can learn so much leadership from the scriptures. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, there are so many great kings that exemplify those qualities of Raja Rishi, of being a saintly king. You have Maharaj Prithu, you have Lord Ram, who is also the personification of a great leader. And we also studying here the life of Maharaj Gaya. So it is one very interesting point that came up just like our last few purports, that we can look into Maharaj Gaya's qualities and teachings. An example which is, as mentioned, very significant, yet the charity shows us that whatever a great person performs, common man will follow. So by establishing this wonderful example, Maharaj Gaya inspired his citizens as well to be very Krishna conscious and also cultivate good qualities, as we read in the purport. The citizens were very happy and well qualified. So one thing that came up in the purport before, or another one, a few purports ago, that one of the jobs of a king is to extract taxes from the citizens, collect money. In the Vedic system, it was 1/4 of one's income was given to the king, and then king very uh, nicely, after gathering everything, he would redistribute it and give it out to those who are in need. And but that wasn't just the only thing that king does, just extracting taxes, but it's also making sure that citizens are happy, that their needs are provided and taken care of. So this is how you. It's a basic principle of growing chicken. So, kind of general example is that in order to get an egg, you have to feed the chicken. Raghunatha, this, of course, is just a regarding story. How one person decided, why I should just feed the chicken. It's such a hassle. You have to buy grains, and it costs money. The eggs are coming out anyway. The eggs are coming out every day, giving great benefit. What's the point of feeding the chicken? So I think he either decided not to feed the chicken altogether, or even cut the head off of the chicken. I thought, I just get the eggs, but I want to feed it. So Prabhupada called it a half hen, half hen philosophy. You only take eggs, but you don't feed the chicken. So the chicken then dies. It doesn't produce any eggs. Or maybe you're feeding the chicken but not sufficiently. And then the chicken starts struggling and the eggs are not like so good quality. So the same principle is demonstrated by Maharaj Daksha just a few purports ago, that he was said, Prabhupada said in a purport that he was extracting taxes, but at the same time he was making sure that the citizens that he's extracting taxes from, that they are happy and satisfied. Otherwise, it's very difficult. If they are not, then people will be quite unwilling to give an egg. They're quite unwilling to give taxes, and they're gonna hide the taxes away, and there will be a certain degree of reluctance of actually giving giving taxes and hiding taxes, and etc. So there was a few different qualities that were mentioned of the king Gaya, how he actually cared for the citizens for them to be happy. So one of them, he was providing some protection and security, because king would give some land to the citizens, and on behalf of king, they used to care for the land, take care of the land, and grow things. And then 1/4 of production would go to the king, so king would still remain a proprietor. This is quite interesting. That was to some extent communist idea that everything belongs to the government and the citizens just work for the government. But here it was a little bit different in the Vedic system. While king was remaining a ultimate proprietor, still like a citizen was like a secondary proprietor. So he was actually the citizens were still owning the land to some extent. It wasn't like an ultimate proprietor, it was like a secondary. And so they had a sense of ownership, and whatever they produced, then one would go to the king, and the king would give protection, and also that would include like protection from thieves, uh, making sure there is a law and order, and also protection of Siddhanta, because king being a saintly king, that protection is also required for establishing a proper religious principles, proper scriptural teachings, and that people would follow that. So king would provide that security, and then food. Food was another one. Of course, people would grow. They had their land and they would grow, but because king would collect some taxes, then that was very fair. If there was a less income, if less production, then the king would get less as well. And if some people who wouldn't get enough, then he would distribute and the citizen would get fed. And then he would also give various kinds of gifts as well, because that helps to build a relationship. As we know, that it's one of the six loving exchanges is to offer and receive gifts, and offer and receive food. So through that care, a king and a leader would create develop a very nice relationship with the citizens. So offering gifts, etc., was an important aspect, and is mentioned in the previous purport that what Maharaj Gaya used to do. And he also used to organize meetings and say sweet words to the citizens. I guess expressing appreciation for their hard work and for their service, and etc. And in that way, he would satisfy the citizens with that sweetness. So there was this kind of exchange. There's the food, gifts, and the sweet words. As we know, it's one of the six loving exchanges, or at least partially. Some of them they cover those six loving exchanges that build relationship. It's considered that king was like a father, representative of God, like a father of the citizens, and also would give good instructions as well. So sweet words and good instructions. And he was, had his qualification of a saintly king, so he can give a good instruction. It's described that Maharaj Gaya, who was expert in studying Vedic literature. So he was expert in knowing religious principles. So therefore he was able to give a very good instruction. So these are kind of covers entire six loving exchanges that Maharaj was very dear, become very dear to the citizens, and that kind of role model would inspire the citizens also to follow that example, being like a very religious, and also when there is a certain degree of happiness and satisfaction, the mind tends to be peaceful, because on the highest transcendental platform,
Yeah.
on the highest transcendental platform, then one is not disturbed by external circumstances, whatever happens. One is able to control the mind and see the hand of Krishna in one's life. But that is the platform, of course, that devotees aspire to be on. But it takes time to reach, and sometimes the challenging situation can be there. You can see even in Prabhupada's life as a pure devotee, there was a number of challenging situations that he went through, and even his Guru Maharaj appeared in his dream to encourage him, for example, take a renounced order of life, which was felt a certain degree of even reluctance to do it. despite of the fact he was coming from his spiritual master. His spiritual master has actually appeared on a few occasions, not just one. And I believe Prabhupada was even thinking, how is it, how I can do that, I have a family, and etc. How I can achieve this. So there was a certain degree of kind of even reluctance to do it. Even on a higher platform, there may be various types of challenges, and there's a necessity to get an input from outside, from another saintly person or spiritual master, in order to kind of understand what is going on in life and how to move forward. But in the more beginning stages, when the various types of needs are still there and very prominent in terms of physical and emotional needs. So when they are met, and that's what Shiva Swami was saying actually when he was last time, he was explaining Varnashram system. When you look into it, of course, for many years he is actually preaching to the devotees, on this highest level, which is give all, give it all, to Krishna, don't worry about anything, about any needs, just push on and, you'll be happy. But then when you looked into Varnashram, you kind of understood that there's, some people can do it, and you have observed the people who are able to do it, but a lot of others, they needed a certain degree of satisfaction of their emotional and physical side to be able to function. She was saying, if people are a little bit more kind of happier, even on material level, the mind is more peaceful, then there is a boost in sadhana, because mind is not so disturbed unless it's been established, or it's because the mind is very disturbed, it's more difficult to absorb in sadhana, and it requires a certain degree of advancement and still be able to be very attentive despite of the fact that the mind is disturbed. The mind is very disturbed. It's like it tends to be focused on the problem rather than on the transcendental sound vibration. So at that time it becomes even more difficult. You're already going through the difficulty. You're not able to hear transcendental sound vibration. So your difficulty either remains the same or even gets worse. But if there is some sort of way of addressing that difficulty, that you are not just struggling, but there is some kind of awareness that people will go through some difficulties or some challenges or some needs, and those needs are kind of addressed, and there is certain consideration on the psychophysical nature. Then that degree of satisfaction that comes, it facilitates for a person to have a better sadhana. And with that better sadhana, then one increases level of Krishna consciousness. And when the challenges come, and there will be some challenges that no matter how much care you provide, physical or emotional care, there will be some challenges that will not be sufficient. But by the level of one's Krishna consciousness, one will be able to handle those challenges and see that it is actually Krishna's hand is acting. And Raghunatha Swami, his kind of sphere of influence, he is encouraging as well very much this principle of happy devotees. He's kind of pioneered the devotee care system, more or less, maybe not single-handedly, but one of the pioneers anyway, establishing the devotee care system, that when devotees are happy, is making the same point, or happier, then the sadhana is much better, and then devotees make a faster advancement to reach actually the platform. Then their needs are not so necessary. As we read as well about Maharaj Gaya, he was able to satisfy desires of the citizens, but he had no desire. And that's another important principle. that through very good quality of sadhana and getting and chanting in Krishna consciousness, then eventually one reaches the platform that the person desires, that satisfaction coming from Krishna consciousness is so high that one isn't having a more personal ambition and personal desires, and therefore the capacity to serve as well increases. Radha Sang often speaks a lot about the increase of responsibility. There is an increase of a challenge of actually to become more selfless, because there is a personal desire there, and you need to serve. It becomes like a big challenge. Just like I was discussing with someone recently about if a person was sharing and the person seen in their family when the new baby was born and the baby was unplanned. It's actually created a lot of disturbance, maybe even anger, because the parents still had so many desires and the things that they wanted to do, and then suddenly a baby has appeared in a family, and they wanted to do this and that and a third thing, enjoy life, but this baby become a disturbance to their enjoyment because you have to get up early, you can't do things that you wanted to do. You can't leave the baby behind and go to the party or something. And you have so many things that you want to do, but the baby starts interfering with all these things what you want to do. So therefore, the baby become kind of unwanted. And that is one of the things what happens in Kali Yuga. And people have so many desires and they are not verifying their existence in their heart. And this unplanned baby, a lot of babies are unplanned, unfortunately, or some contraception in war or whatever. And then the baby is born, and it's not aborted, and you're lucky to reach, to see the daylight. Then when the daylight is reached, the parents are overwhelmed by various material desires. And it becomes such a frustration to look after the people at the same time those desires are actually disturbing that kind of care is very difficult to care for someone if you have so many selfish desires yourself. So as one is becoming more selfless, and that is only truly possible to achieve to actually become satisfied in Krishna consciousness, because otherwise there will be this certain degree of desire to lord over material nature. Because if one is not spiritually satisfied, the desire has to manifest in various subtle ways of trying to lord it over in various things. There will be some dissatisfaction on the king's side and on the citizens' side. So it's very, very important for the king and the leader to have that strong sadhana so that the satisfaction is there, and therefore the mood of service then becomes manifest, and the mood of care becomes manifest on a much larger degree in various desires that can manifest on a subtle material platform. Is not disturbing that care towards the citizens. The same thing you can see in the spiritual society. Have this kind of kingdom principle applies. Krishna consciousness movement that also kind of a leader in one sense is not as extracting the taxes, but is extracting the services. Is extracting the services from the citizens for the members of the society, and so similar or the eggs. So the eggs can be considered like a services. But the chicken, the members, they have to be fed. They have to be fed with some grains, so that they are happy to give the chicken. They are happy to give those eggs. Of course, on the highest and standard platform, a pure devotee, it doesn't need, technically speaking, any feeding. It just produces the eggs. That's the amazing thing about pure devotee. just giving the acts, and as you can see, Gaia was a pure devotee. He's just caring for the citizens with the good qualities, but he doesn't need any feeding himself. But on lower platforms of devotional service, there will be various degrees of kind of feeding necessary. Actually, devotee care committee has identified various types of things that are important, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur as well. He delineates various needs. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that there is a physical needs, things like eating and sleeping. There is some, unless one is on a pure devotional platform, he identified these few needs. Another one is need for socialization. So Prabhupada was in one Gora Purnima, we were speaking yesterday with someone on Gora Purnima in the United States in 1966. He was writing in his diary that 10,000 miles around me, there is not a single Vaishnava. But all my God brothers are gathering now in Mayapur to celebrate, but around me there is not a single Vaishnava. However, I am happy because I am executing the order of my spiritual master and I feel his presence. So the spiritual devotee doesn't need that socialization because he's feeling that. And actually, it's not that he doesn't need it, but it's actually replaced it. It's not that the spiritual devotee becomes personal and he doesn't need anyone. He actually replaced it with that relationship with Krishna and the spiritual master. So until one reaches that platform on a constant and deeper level, some socialization is necessary. And then another thing that you were saying is some mental stimulation, some stimulation for the mind. So it's going through the different layers: physical layer, the emotional, it's kind of socialization, encouragement, appreciation, and all sorts of things that happens in the exchanges. And then intellectual stimulation or mind stimulation. So something for the mind, some sort of purpose, some sort of challenge um, to engage the mind and focus the mind. And so that's like it's being consideration, some psychophysical nature. So that's a mental stimulation, engaging my nature in Krishna service. And then the last thing that Bhaktivinoda Thakur points out is the study of Shastra. So mind stimulation for the mind on a higher level, that is intellectual stimulation. So sorry, the mind stimulation was about the mind, and then the Shastra study is stimulation for intellectual. And of course, different people have a different capacity, and maybe different combination necessary for each individual person in different degrees of these things. But study of Shastra, it serves as a intellectual stimulation. And actually, discussion of Shastra can address those three things. It's not necessarily with feed you physically, but you can, of course, have prasadam after discussing Shastra. But there is some exchange, some socialization happens. There is also stimulation for the mind because the Kali Yuga brain is very dull. Just to sit down and read, it's not so easy. But when you sit down and discuss, it starts stimulating the mind. So it gets some nourishment for the mind, it gets inspiration for the mind. And also there is some intellectual stimulation as well by studying Shastra. So it's a very powerful way to address three needs out of four that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has pointed out. So this is, and the Vedika committee indicated that this is actually, of course, they are categorized in quite a few, maybe 10 categories or something, but you can actually then Bhaktivinoda Thakur just had less of those, but you can also fit those into less. But they put a number one, spiritual care. Spiritual care is one of the most important things that brings the happiness to the devotees. And then Gauranga Prabhu explained that they came up with these three principles of spiritual care. That before one is actually fully qualified to give spiritual care. One can give spiritual care by experience and so many other factors, but there will be a different potency of spiritual care. So you have, in order to have a maximum potency and effect of spiritual care, he pointed out the three things, actually two things, because the third one is the care that we provide to others. So the first one is called self-care. So one has to, and actually this is a very quote about this. Prabhupada says, a real preacher cannot be bogus. He must first of all realize Lord Vishnu as he is, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4:34. One who has seen the truth can impart knowledge. So one of the important principles of self-care is actually become deeply absorbed in scriptures and of course take of one's physical health, etc. But you have this very strong absorption in hearing and chanting. Because of that connection with Krishna, then one becomes very kind of empowered and purified to impart knowledge to others. This is a very fundamental principle of giving care is the self-care. So, and then the second one, the self-care means that also the various challenges that come into life, one will have a spiritual perspective and one will disturb. I mean, you have an intelligence and purification and ability to deal with it in one's own life and see the transcendental kind of vision. So that scriptural vision, beginning and chanting establishes that vision in the heart. And then the second thing that one has a person one can go to, even one be in a very exalted elevated position. We've seen that some people did struggle despite of the fact that they were empowered, they were in an exalted position, etc. But sometimes it can be a little bit lowly position as well. And some people didn't reveal some challenges they were going through. They didn't have a friend or a peer or on a similar level to reveal the heart, and they kind of struggled. So it's very important to have that person. So sometimes, despite of the fact of chanting the holy name, studying the scripture, but something overwhelming can come from the heart, some impurity or some challenge or some material attraction or whatever the case may be manifest in the heart, that one may not be able to just handle it just by one's own spiritual strength. So having that person to go and actually creates that very powerful sense of strength and security when you have a person who can go and express your challenges. And also the conditioning of men as well, in general, women do a bit less of that. You would have probably immediately spill the beans to someone. But for a man, somehow or another, it's some sort of loss of prestige. And it's challenging to go to someone and say, look, I'm struggling with this, I have this weakness. So somehow or another, it is this important principle. And it gives you so much strength actually that you can handle a lot of challenges and weaknesses throughout one's life. You can have the person you can go through. If there is some official position or the devotee care system or an official position, he has a person that you can go to, spill the beans, and knows that the person will actually try to help you and want to kind of publish it on internet or Facebook or etc. and keep that confidence, confidentiality. It's a very, very powerful thing. And then so Gauranga Prabhu was saying that after these two things, then one is very, very empowered to care. So it's not necessary that those things, with how these things, or with lesser degrees of these things that one cannot provide care, of course one can. But speaking about the maximum effect and potency of providing spiritual care. And sometimes, in out of passion, the rest of think, okay, we need to do a spiritual care, and we just jump into just, who needs care in the community, and let's establish the system. But actually, first, number one, and number two is actually provided self-care and actually have a person that one can get care of oneself. These are care to others. So very important actually factors. So when those factors are then established, then one can provide very, very high potency care for others. And there's many things as well, foundational when that hearing and chanting as well is there. It allows for various qualities as well manifesting character that inspires citizens. And Gaia, he was a gentleman, he was servant of devotees, he was expert in ritualistic performances according to this age. Sankirtan, which is our main Dharma. He had no desire, personal desire, had no desire for position, despite the fact that he was in a position. He didn't have the desire to be master, he had the desire to be a servant. And then what happens in that situation as well, because the Dharma is so strong, then is described in this purport that because of those qualities of Maharaj Gaya and the care for citizens, then the earth, and those qualities is like a calf, and the earth was like a cow. So by those qualities of Maharaj Gaya, those transcendental qualities, earth was looking at those qualities as a cow, and he was providing milk. So the supply of various things that come, when that internal spiritual kind of well-being and purity is there, then it manifests externally. Often we try to achieve, and that's Mahatma Buddhism dimension, try to achieve so many things externally, and we have to, of course, focus on things externally. But in order for that external manifestation of various things to be sustainable, it has to be based on transcendental sound vibration. And it was in Govardhaniko village, a Bhakta had an understanding and realization that everything that existed in the Govardhan Eco Village, which is an amazing project, is based on a transcendental sound vibration that Radha Swami is spending on countless and countless years and hours before he really expanded really big and spent unbelievable hours of hearing and chanting with devotees, establishing their purity, etc. Until all the purity that manifested amazing things externally. Because when there is a material opulence come and material facility and etc. come, if there is a lack of purity, it can bewilder, it can distract you, it can, it doesn't happen. But when that purity is there, when the material facility comes, and the various things that Krishna supplies, or his Mother Earth in the form of a cow, starts supplying to the cow various facilities and etc. They don't bewilder the person, in charge, but actually everything gets used perfectly and completely in Krishna service. Just a little bit over the time. There's any quick questions and comments? Yes.
Thanks, beautiful. Nice. Although we're talking about happiness, the goals to be happy, supporting to be happy, and also just remember that I would say that there's two types of people can be happy and do world as a fool. The happiness that should be encouraged is not the former, but the latter.
Yes. Yes, it is, but there's a transition period. Kind of other type of care, but as the good care committee said, if you have no facility or money or whatever to provide like a physical, emotional, and areas kind of this, then at least we should provide a spiritual care, and then he says then everything will come, because actually that purity will empower Krishna's blessings and the mercy, and kind of to provide the material facilities as well. To provide and spend your lifetime in preparation, and then Krishna was just showering. Of course, you had gone through the struggle for a year, but because of the purity that Prabhupada said, they had various types of facilities also became common, and Prabhupada was able to provide like nice prasada for devotees and a living place, and he was quite concerned that devotees have a nice facility to live in. Westerners, we needed more facility as well. And at times, of course, he challenged devotees, and he had to perform a number of austerities in the service, like in a Jewish situation. It was extremely austere, but it wasn't like it was for a lifetime. Eventually, they didn't have their space that they could live in, etc. So there will be a certain transition period that various types of things may be necessary in terms of facility, and in terms of socialization, and in terms of whatever well fed, and in terms of looking at the psychophysical natures of a devotee and to find a suitable service. At the same time, simultaneously, two things are going on, and we've seen it a lot, like in the Golden Village and other places, where actually leaders preach a pure devotional platform, just like a complete surrender, just do it completely as you're told, for brahmacharis, but on a practical level, they do look into the psychophysical nature, especially after a few years, because there is this also testing period. This also Shiva Raswami also speaks about the same thing in Srila Bhakti Chintamani, that it says that there's two important things. One thing is for the devotee to learn is to follow authority, and that is one of the most fundamental principles of Krishna consciousness. But then on the other hand, he was quoting Sanatana Goswami that it is actually the best for devotee, even for the purified devotee, it's got a certain nature, to actually engage in that nature and express that heart in Krishna's service. So while it is encouraged just to do anything and everything for Krishna and do as you're told on one hand, and that should be the principle. On the other hand, the leaders on a practical level, they look, and Sanatana Goswami is the same thing. They actually look, to find some balance between what needs to be done and between where is kind of the heart is flowing. But it's not that like the devotee who just came through the door, you wouldn't know necessarily facilitate that, because usually it's just overwhelmed with material laws of nature. It's not so clear what is that natural drive of a person, and requires a good degree of verification before that can kind of manifest. But that actually, when that is taken into consideration, you can extend actually devotees stay in the ashram, or devotees even stay in the community, and there's a kind of healthy balance between these two. So you're following, preaching this pure devotion, and just do anything and everything in Krishna's service and doing the needful, but on a practical level, actually, to see what's possible. So, that's this way.
Yeah, so I heard you say that maybe people want from what go have to do what they can about the circumstances and situations. Also, it's important, or isn't it important, that we don't get stuck in that interim period, and the Bhagavad Gita talks about getting ourselves comforting, so we have to be careful not trying to make it a comfortable situation, just to comfort our psychophysical natures and not take steps forward, because ultimately we don't want to be left with regret at the end of life that we didn't see shelter of Krishna and we took shelter of material energy. So how can we safeguard that we don't get stuck in the interim period?
The emphasis on hearing and chanting. So as we spoke about, this on one hand extracting services, and that is 50% actually of a job. The another 50%, when you speak about feeding the chicken, one of the most important things to feed the chicken is to facilitate and create atmosphere of emphasis on hearing and chanting. And the Prabhupada speaks about this in letters. The devotees will be able to perform austerity if they have a strong hearing and chanting, and sometimes they would even encourage and emphasize actually at the expense of other things to increase the hearing and chanting and the quality hearing and chanting, and the emphasis on hearing and chanting. So devotees then be able to perform sacrifice because of that satisfaction and strength and fulfillment that comes. Then the material desires reduce, then the need for material comforts reduce, then the need for physical, social, emotional kind of facilitation reduces. At the same time, it's not that a lot of things they don't disappear necessarily, but they become replaced with the spiritual thing. So like a socialization becomes replaced with that deep connection with Guru, and deep connection with Krishna, and still some deep connection that will come from some advanced devotees that will get inspiration. So that will be the very thing. So if you feel that devotees are lacking of kind of desire to perform sacrifice and surrender and etc. And it's just my feeling from what I understood from reading the hearing from some devotees is that increase of hearing and chanting it just looks like can be detrimental if a person is unwilling to do service. It seems like increasing the time for hearing and chanting, that would even more decrease the service. But actually, my understanding is that it's opposite. That by Prabhupada was saying that in those letters, by increase of hearing and chanting, the degree of surrender will increase. It may take some time just establishing that culture of hearing and chanting in the temple. There was some other letter that I read when Prabhupada was installing Kaliya in this, what is that temple in Fiji or something. They were saying, that's the main business of the temple now, is the Krishna Katha. He said we had Krishna Katha, there will be more strength and things will become material. I can't remember exact quotes, but he was again referring to the same point. And when he was seeing that the milk is getting thin, the numbers are increasing, but the quality is decreasing, then he would emphasize there was a few letters that he did not boil the milk. So that degree of surrender will come. Actually, it won't decrease the surrender, but actually will increase the surrender and desire to perform sacrifice and decrease the comforts and etc. So that emphasis is there.
Another point is so it's important that we don't put too much pressure on someone. The others who don't block someone who's capable of doing that, because if you just deal with everyone according to their present psychosocial nature when they come to the temple, then those who may advance you. So it's important that leaders are sensitive to doing that. They're already surrounding themselves so that they can spot when someone has got the capability of surrounding them. So it's not that everybody has to be kept back. Because I've seen this also in another situation where one devotee wanted to join the temple and they told them no, go and study and do this and do that. So then they came to another temple and joined that. So it's not that it's a rubber stamp. We've got a blueprint that just fits everybody. We have to be sensitive to somebody's capability. I mentioned about bending but not breaking. So there has to be some bending on you where you feel, you're not sense where someone's going to break. Someone in the bend, someone going to break quick, that's not one. It's not that someone can bend right over you say, okay, I won't stay at that limit. So it's a very important point that we don't obstruct or deny someone the opportunity for advancement and surrender. Otherwise, what happens is we project onto the end, but nothing goes out of surrender.
That's true. Prabhupada emphasized in his letters to the devotees so they can rise up to the challenge. But also if that emphasis on hearing and chanting is there, then the ability for the people to bend, they will also have the capacity to bend will increase because of the higher level of Krishna consciousness. That's not yet Prantarashima Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Nitai